What is going on, guys? It is Daniel Wright, and you are here listening to another episode of Paving the Way. As always, happy to have you here. Happy to have you join me. I hope you had a fantastic past weekend. I hope your week is off to a great start, and I hope you've got a lot of great things planned for the rest of the week. And as I'm talking right now, I feel like my voice just sounds tired. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the time of year. Maybe it's allergies. Maybe I'm just tired. Who knows? But nonetheless, I am here to hopefully deliver you about 15 to 20 minutes of some value that hopefully pushes you along the way, helps pave the way for the future and the life that you are trying to build. Guys, today I want to talk a little bit about commitment and what commitment really means. And are you actually committed to what you say you're committed to? You know, I've talked before about, are your dreams really your dreams? Are you actually going to live up to what you say you're going to do? Can you stick to your commitments? Things like that. But let's actually talk about commitment today. And I'll start by telling just kind of the little comparison that I've heard before about talking about commitment and dedication, right? People want to always talk about how committed they are to it, how committed they are to the cause, committed they are to the results, committed they are to what they signed up for, whatever it might be. But what's really committed? And because I love food, the discussion and the comparison is about bacon and eggs, all right? So I'm going to leave you with this before we get this intro going. When it comes to bacon, the pig was committed. When it comes to eggs, the chicken was dedicated. So let's unpack what commitment really means and why it involves a little bit more than what you might think and how you can apply it to your day-to-day life. All right, guys, so like I was talking about, bacon and eggs. Pigs are committed to the bacon. Chickens are dedicated to providing eggs, right? One, clearly is giving their life for what they're trying to get the results for. The other one is merely involved, okay? And so what I'm talking about in this frame today is, are you committed to getting the results for you, your company, your team, your business, whatever it is that you're in charge of getting the results for? And whether we own a company, whether we lead a team, or whether we're a part of a team, we all have commitments that we are called to uphold. And so I want to unpack a little bit about what commitment really is and really isn't. And so a lot of times, especially in this day and age, with over-glorifying entrepreneurship and how great it is to always be in the grind and so on and so forth, you get people talking about, well, if you're not working 16-hour days, you're not committed. If you're not working 7 days a week, you're not committed. If you're not working, 24/7, 365, all this stuff about how much you work, you're not committed. The reality is there's a balance, okay? And you guys have heard me talk about that work-life balance doesn't actually exist. Just like a balance of, I should only work this many hours a day, or I should only work this many hours a week. All that comes down to how committed are you really? Because the commitment that you're showing and how you define how committed you are isn't just about the hours, but the hours still matter. Because it doesn't have to mean that you're living at the office or living behind the computer, or behind the screen, or whatever it is that your job requires every single day, every waking moment. That's not what shows commitment. Sometimes commitment does look like that. What it comes down to is that there needs to be a willingness and consistency in being committed to the results, regardless of what time it takes. And I, for one, can tell you that in my business, in pavement and concrete, there's seasons that require more of my time than others. There's seasons throughout the calendar year, such as springtime and everybody wanting all their projects that we've been looking at ready to go. You get that first couple nice days of 60, 70-degree weather, the birds are chirping, the flowers are blooming, and everybody who had a project ready to go for the spring thinks that theirs should be done on that day. So during that time, the commitment of the time and the efforts put in to get those clients taken care of is at a much higher level than, say, the middle of February, when it's cold, it's wet, it's dreary. No one's really expecting you to get their parking lots taken care of. And so therefore, that level of commitment for executing those projects is not as high. And so there has to be a balance and a willingness to understand when the time to be committed is, right? This time of year, early September, we're getting ready to wrap up quarter 3 and go into quarter 4. Anybody who looks at their business and runs it by the numbers knows that going into quarter 4, you want to push as hard as possible to end the year on a strong note. You want to push as hard as possible to get as much work closed and completed before the year's end. That is a well-known fact in sales, in pavement, in whatever business you have. Everybody wants to end their years strong. And so the commitment that our sales team and our operations team has to have right now is that we have to do whatever it takes to push as hard as we can to meet our goals and our objectives that we set out to accomplish. And so sometimes, does that mean 10, 12-hour days in sales or operations? Sure. Sometimes does that mean working on a Saturday morning to get things caught up and ready to go for the next week? Or reviewing things on a Sunday night to make sure Monday morning is ready to go right when you hit the gates. So the commitment is more than just the consistent time. It's the willingness to be consistently dedicated and committed to what you need to do. Okay. And sometimes the way I like to say things is you achieve the results by doing the things that you know you need to do, even when you don't always want to do them. So that's a good sign to tell you how committed are you really to achieving the results that you've set out to accomplish. The next step that we're going to cover here is commitment is effort that matches the mission. Okay. So at our company, we are actively growing. We're actively progressing. We're actively trying to completely destroy last year's numbers and take on a whole new set of records and levels to hit for this year. We're trying to constantly grow and progress on how we provide our services, how we provide our sales process, how we walk people through conception to completion, beginning to end of a project. We're constantly trying to evolve it, right? And so therefore, the people on our team and the level of their commitment has to match that mission of an always growing and progressing organization. Because if somebody comes into an organization that has a level of commitment that matches a stagnant company, or that matches a corporate America company where you just have your set tasks you have to do Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you get your paid lunch break, your 2 weeks of vacation, and your 401k and dental benefits, and you go home and carry on with your life, those two levels of commitment are going to be completely different. Our company needs people who want to come in and build, who want to come in and master what we've done all up until this point over the last 9 years. And they're willing to do whatever it takes to be the best at what we do and then be committed to keep growing that and progressing that day in and day out. So that kind of level of commitment, you can even hear it in the inflection of my voice, talking about the person who's committed to the corporate America job and the person who's committed to the small business that's growing and progressing day in and day out's job. Two completely different levels of commitment that's required. And so when we set out to achieve these goals, we have to know that there's, like I said before, there's going to be seasons of long days, long hours, higher end requests, more detailed in description that's required for this project and that project, whatever it may be. We just have to know that we're committed to meet whatever is needed to get the job done, that we're willing to do whatever it takes. And so when you're evaluating yourself and your team, and you're setting these goals as the leader, you're setting these objectives, are you saying that you're committed to doing whatever it takes to match that mission? If your team were to evaluate you, if they were to follow you around for your day, would they say that you're putting in that effort and putting in that commitment to get the goals and the outcomes that you set out as the mission? Or would they say that he's dedicated, but he's not committed? He's slacking. She's wasting time. He's goofing off. He's not being productive, whatever it may be, right? If they were to follow you around for your workday, what would they say you are? That's always an important question to ask yourself. And that was something that came up at our offsite leadership meeting about a month or two ago. As I asked my whole team, I said, what do you need from me? What can I do to support you as the leader here? And one of the guys, JJ, our operations manager, said, hey, I'm not saying you're doing this. I just know this is top of mind for me. He said, the thing that I would ask of you is to make sure that you're not wasting any time right now. That when you're showing up for work, that when you're showing up for the team, the clients, whatever it is, you're 100% there, give it 100% of your effort. And so I said, all right, point taken. I got it. And I can tell you right now, for the last 6 weeks since we've had that meeting, that has been way more front of mind for me. If I get a text message from somebody during the workday that's not work related, I have a higher tendency now to put it off until later, to put it off until, maybe I'm, sitting at a stoplight or in a drive-through getting my lunch or something like that, instead of letting it interrupt my day-to-day activities that's trying to push the needle forward. And so I've had to make sure that I'm taking account for my level of commitment and what I'm putting into my team, because I'm the one setting out the level of the mission that we're setting out to accomplish. Okay. And so sometimes as leaders, we get that confused. We want the commitment from our team, but we don't give the commitment to our team. And so it goes back to me asking, if they were to follow you around for a week and take account for the time that you spend on getting to the objectives and the goals of your mission, what would that look like? And so going on to the third point that I have here is commitment is tested in the tough moments. That's a fun one, right? And I can tell you right now, from an operational standpoint, from being in the field, there were days where we were tested. It was tough. It was the Murphy's Law days. What can go wrong will go wrong, but we still have an objective to complete regardless of what's happening. And so the team and I, we would be out there grinding and just making sure that we are delivering the results we said we were going to deliver. All well, everything else is against us, right? Everything is going against us, right? It's always easy to look good when things are going smooth, but when things are just not going well, what's your level of commitment then? Do you fold up and quit and say, well, must be a sign, we should call it quits today? Or do you figure out how to buckle in and get the job done, right? The real test, from what I've experienced, is when deadlines tighten, clients are demanding, setbacks hit. Do you lean in and do what's necessary, or do you pull back and look for the easy way out? Because I can tell you right now, if you're part of an organization, or if you're leading an organization that has super high goals, big goals, ones that probably scare you when you've either thought of them or been told about them, you cannot pull back when it gets tough. When it gets tough is when you must lean in. When your supervisor or your manager is telling you, hey, our goal was over here, we're now doubling that. We have a higher expectation to achieve. Hey, this was our quota, now it's this. This was our day-to-day routine, now it's this. When things start changing and getting harder and getting stricter, are you one who leans in to the challenge and steps up to the occasion, or do you pull back and look for the excuses that you want to use to get yourself out of it? Because if you're the latter of the two, looking for the excuses to get out of it, you will not enjoy working for that high-performing team over a long period of time, if you make it over a long period of time. And so my challenge to you is look at how you and your team operates when things get tough. Are commitments upheld? Are deadlines upheld? Is ownership still taken? Are we all fighting for the same mission regardless of how tough it is? Because I can tell you right now, there's been seasons in this organization where maybe we're not hitting the goals we want to hit. Maybe we're not hitting the level of quality execution we want to achieve. Maybe we're not doing whatever it may be that we need to be doing. And I can tell you that when we start discussing what's going on, why it's happening, and what needs to change as a team, there's nothing but ownership taken. There's nothing but willingness to continue to be committed and do whatever it takes. Guys, if you follow me on LinkedIn or social media, you saw last Friday that I posted, you have one sign you have a great team is that when you're in your office at 5:30 on a Friday, the weather's beautiful outside, and you've got 75% of your staff still in the office working. Not because they were asked to, but because they want to. That's a sign that tells you have a committed team to what the cause is that you're trying to accomplish. You have a team that's on board with what you've set out to do. And they're willing to make the sacrifices and put in the work and put in the effort to do whatever it takes to get there. Because I can tell you, I've been part of teams. I've had people on my team who aren't committed. I've had people in the organization who are here to just do the bare minimum, collect their paycheck, and go home. And let me tell you, there's a place for people like that, just not here. So my question to you on that note, that you're leading your team, have you made it clear to the people in your organization that they can settle for the status quo? They can go after average. They just can't do it in your team. Have you made it clear that you're willing to be committed no matter what it takes to accomplish the mission you set out to accomplish? And have you made it clear that commitment is more than just the hours you put in, but the hours do still matter? Because sometimes to accomplish that goal and accomplish that mission, brute force is what's required. And brute force oftentimes comes through hours on the job. Guys, I can tell you after 9 years of running Proline and growing this organization and having growth year over year, having people come through these doors, having experiences that tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what I need to improve on, I can tell you that as long as the commitment to the ultimate objective, and our ultimate objective is to impact as many lives in and around the pavement maintenance industry as possible, as long as the commitment to that objective stays strong, stays pure, and stays clear, the results will always show up. You guys have heard me say it before. My friend Brian Hess is quoted in saying, you can't do the right thing every day and get the wrong results. And so on that, you can't stay committed to the cause and committed to the mission and not achieve the results you're looking for. And so I want to leave you guys with that this week. I want to challenge you to ask yourself, how do you define commitment? Are you exerting and showing those efforts of being committed to your organization, to your team, to your business, or to your mission? And if you're on the team and you told that employer, you told that manager, you told that supervisor when you got the job, I'm committed. I want to come in and help grow this team, grow this organization, accomplish the mission. You gave them that whole sales pitch for why they should hire you. Are you still committed to it? Are you still putting in the work and the effort that's needed to continue getting you where you need to go? Because if you're part of an organization that has a big enough goal and a mission, the bar is always raising. There is no such thing as finished. There's no such thing as complete when you're in a growing organization. And so ask yourself if you're still committed to that cause. Because if you're not, everyone else already knows it. But if you are, you have to keep showing up and proving it day in and day out. And guys, I want this to be a message, like I said, going into closing out Q3 this month, going into Q4, I want you to ask yourself and your team, are you committed? Because only the greatest will survive in this world. In this day and age where everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, everyone wants to be a business owner, the competition is real, but it's also very easy to separate yourself from that competition. You just have to be committed. So as always, guys, I hope this provided a little bit of value, maybe a little bit of motivation this week, something to think about, something to share with your friends or your team. Do me a favor, throw me a like, throw me a comment, throw me a share. The algorithm likes it. And like you guys know, I just want to get this message out here. That's my pay. That's my reward, is getting this message out to more individuals to help pave the way for them to build the futures that they want for their team and their lives. And as a reminder, if you don't already, jump over to our Proline YouTube and social media pages. The links are in this comment or in this post here. We are dropping a new video this week for a state employees credit union that our crew knocked out over a weekend. There was an ungodly amount of arrows to be painted. There was an ungodly amount of asphalt to be sealed. Not really, but a good bit. But nonetheless, it was a pretty cool project that we got to knock out for a repeat client. So if you want to check that out, it's coming out this Friday. Nice little long form video. You get to see our crew and our guys in action, living out those commitments in real time. So as always, guys, if you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I look forward